breaking down last night's Trailblazers Sixers game, where Dame Lillard blazed a trail of fire up our rear ends, aka our asses.
Yeah. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind.
Good morning, everybody. This is episode, what the hell is this? I'm sorry, episode 44. Oh my goodness, we're knocking everything all over the place. Episode 44 of the 476ers podcast. We are going to be breaking down last night's Trailblazers Sixers game, where Dame Lillard blazed a trail of fire up our rear ends, aka our asses. So let's talk about this game. Obviously, Joel gets hurt early, a little bit confusing as to what happened, and I have a little bit of a theory here. That's the top story for today. He hurt himself in a weird play, kind of gets his foot caught under the basket stanchion, and you famously may remember when the last time something like this happened severely was Paul George doing it during the Olympics. Man, my beard is looking scraggly. I'm so sorry. Anyway, Paul George doing this during the Olympics and breaking his leg. But Joe kind of does it, in a very Joe fashion. And it to me kind of seemed like the type of play. There was a story a couple years ago about Joe. One of the reasons why Joe falls so often, it's done purposely. It's not because he has poor balance. He falls purposely to take pressure off of his knees and his hips and his back. And that's why he's always falling all the time. He learned how to tumble, kind of. And that story doesn't get enough play because then people are always asking, why is he always falling? And they don't know why. And that's the reason why. And it's similar when he jumps, when he has momentum and he jumps and lands, it seems to me like he always likes to take a couple of extra steps when he's coming to a stop, as opposed to coming to a stop right away to, again, take away some of the pressure away from his knees. And that's kind of what it looked like happened yesterday. Kind of just, taking some casual steps backwards to come to a stop after he had tried to go for a block and then gets his foot caught. It looked like he was fine. He limped for a moment, but then made it back down the floor, came back up the floor on defense again, got a stop on Zach Collins, grabbed the rebound, and then Zach fouled him. He kind of stumbles out of bounds. Seemed like he was fine. I mean, he walked back up. Then they took him out of the game, took him back to the locker room. And that was it for his night. He ended up coming back to the bench. He looked fine. It looked like he was in good spirits and all that. So I think he's fine. But I think my theory, at least as to why he didn't play, I think it's because the Sixers are actually happy with the 6th seed. There's no chance we're going to lose the 6th seed now. I mean, there was no chance pretty early on, honestly. Each of the 7th and 8th seed are both back 8 games. And even though the Nets are beating the shit out of a bunch of good teams, even though they have no one on their team. I mean, Caris was playing well. He had I think he had 22 and 12 last night, or 22 and 10, something like that, 22 and 10 assists. I like Caris LeVert. Anyway, and they beat the Clippers when Kawhi played. So, but they can't catch us. The Magic can't catch us. I think we do like the matchup against the Celtics. They have no answer for Joe. I mean, Joe, no team has an answer for Joe. Except for the Raptors. Marc Gasol plays Joe well, and their team defense really, alongside Marc slows down Joe in a way that allows their team defense to collapse on him and make it impossible for him to do anything. So, and then the Bucks, same thing with the Bucks. Brook Lopez is an above-average defensive center, and then Robin Lopez is also a very good defensive center. So they can march both of those guys out. They can also get Q and put who's going to be the defensive player of the year, Giannis, on Joe. So I think we like the matchup against the Celtics. So I think I would not be surprised if we don't see Joe at least the next game. We're coming into a back-to-back now against the Suns and the who the hell do we play after the Suns? Damn, I forgot. Oh, shit. Anyway, we play the Suns and somebody else. I can't remember right now. And he's going to miss one of those games, I'm sure, if he doesn't miss both of them. And then the last game I don't quite understand the TBD thing. A lot of teams have TBD games, I guess, depending on if you're locked into that seeding game. They're just not going to play those games and start the play-in games, which are going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. The play-in games are not going to happen in the East. The 9th seed is out of it at this point. But the play-in games are definitely going to happen in the West. And I think there might be 2 rounds. I don't know how they're going to do this because it's supposed to be within 1 game. Well, there's like a logjam happening down there. So I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like. I don't know if like the Grizzlies, Blazers, and Spurs and Suns, especially if the Suns keep winning, are all going to get a shot at the 8th seed. I mean, that'd be kind of dope, like a little pre-playoff to the playoff. Anyway, we're not even talking about the game right now. I'm sorry. I've went off. Let's come back to last night's game. So Joe, I think Joe is fine. I think that we purposely said, fuck it, don't worry about it. Let's not play him, take a chance. We need him for the playoffs. So I wouldn't be surprised if he shut down. With that said, everyone and their mother knew Dame was going to go for 100 points today. You know, on the broadcast, they made it seem like really crazy that Allah was like, oh, I think he might go for 40. And me and the homie TJ, shout out to him, we actually put the over-under at 60. Kind of facetiously, like we were a little bit joking, but not really, because you know Dame can go for 60. It's not really that far off. He's not that far off from 60. He goes for 52, so it's really not that crazy. And he could have gone for 60, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. I was really pissed off at the end of the first half of this game. I'm going to be honest with you for a couple reasons. One, I was disappointed because of the Joe thing, and because, again, we have the worst training staff in America, and again, we have the worst PR staff. So even when they said Molly was working with Sixers PR to get an update on Joe, I said, well, shit, you might as well work with the administration on getting updates on the COVID right now, because you're going to get bullshit from our PR. We have the worst front office in the league. And I did have the thought of blowing it up, and I still have the thought of blowing it up. We probably need to blow this shit up, because I'm sick of I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of the abject averageness. But with that said, hey, welcome to the bubble, Josh. Welcome. Well, I didn't. You know, you must have just got in. I guess you were quarantined for the last week. You know, and welcome to the bubble. I see you played yesterday, and you played well. You played well. You know what? You played well, even though Dame set your corpse ablaze. You did a good job of trying to put a match in his pocket that was lit a little bit, but then it went in his pocket, but it caused a little discomfort in his leg, so he felt a little fire. You walked out like a stuntman, emblazoned with Damian Lillard's Dame Dollar's album title on your back with the track list. He left the track list of his album on your back. It's fine. Because it's not completely your fault. It goes to our trash coaching staff and the trash decisions we made. Listen, I like Udoka. I'm pronouncing his. I always fuck up his name. I'm sorry. He's our defensive assistant coach, and the game plan was trash. It was absolutely fucking ridiculous. Well, I don't even know. Should I start there? Should I start with the players? What do I do here? What do I do here? Let's start with players. All right, Toby, 1673. Toby played well. You know, he did a good job of getting out of Josh's way. Josh had it going. Toby did a good job of getting out of his way, trying to do other things. It was also not the best matchup when Toby slid to the 5. Zach Collins is an above-average defender, man. He's a really, really good defender. Long, is quick, is athletic. It is harder to score on him if you're not bigger than him, really. It's going to be hard to beat him on speed because he's quick and his length allows him to cheat a little bit and then recover very quickly. So that's a tough matchup for Toby. Toby did hit a couple big shots though in the third quarter when we were making our comeback. Actually, not necessarily in the third quarter. He hit a couple big shots throughout the game. Every time it seemed like we were about to be down 20, you know, we'd be down 17, and then here he comes. He hits a 3. And keeps it just close enough for us to then get the opportunity in the third quarter to make it interesting. So Toby played okay. You know what I mean? He played fine. No beef with Toby. A lot of stretches where he disappeared, but again, you know, kind of a tough situation to be playing against. To be stuck being guarded by Zach Collins. It's really rough. Zach, if you've been watching him, you've been watching the Trailblazers. Zach is a very above average defender. He works his ass off. The Trailblazers' biggest issue with Zach right now is he's not shooting often enough and efficient enough. They're going to need him to spread the floor a little bit. Now, Dame spreads the floor much like Steph now. It took him a little bit longer to get there. I mean, Steph was, you know, maybe it didn't take him that long because if you remember, Steph's first 2 years is dealing with injuries, and it's the third year, and then it's really the fourth year that you're like, oh, shit, we have to guard Steph at 35 feet. And Dame is, like, hitting that point now where it's just like, hey, you need to guard Dame at 35 feet also. and it opens up everything for the offense generally. But so with that said, Toby played well. Just kind of stuck there. Al played okay. Al played well. Al played well. I'm overly critical of Al. Al had a couple bad, stupid fucking fouls. He had the one dumbass offensive foul on Nurk. Now, with that said, I still haven't seen a clean clip of that foul. Kind of seem there's nothing in the world that would move Nurk, and I'll talk about that in a second. Nurk is essentially the Statue of Liberty, just an immovable statuesque human being, and the only thing that moves him is like Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid is like social change in America, and he's able to move the Statue of Liberty into a different light physically. You know what I mean? But other than that, Al is not going to move him. So for him to have been thrown onto the floor, Al gets a stupid foul, then immediately gets a stupid technical foul for that too, which did not help our cause on the fourth quarter. He had a couple bad plays too that really fucking irritated me, and I'm going to get these two off because they pissed me off. One was, again, back to Nurk not being movable in the third quarter. For some reason, Al Horford calls for the ball to post up Nurk. Now, Al is no longer a good post player. He hasn't been a good post player all year. I don't know why he thought he was going to post up Nurk. He goes for a running, almost like a running sweep hook type thing, and then puts himself into trouble and forces a bad pass into Matisse, which promptly gets stolen. So there was that stupid play. Then there was a play or two. So there's that play. Then Josh hits a 3-pointer, and then the next play after that, Al comes down and pump fakes Nurk out of the play. And instead of taking advantage of that, I mean, he has a really good mid-range shot. And I've seen him hit that shot a million times where he pump fakes, takes a dribble or two in, stops and pops. It's a good shot for him. But for some reason, passes it out and then stands in the lane. Josh then fakes a 3-pointer, drives past the lane, gets a 3-second. Al gets a 3-second. Now, 3-second calls are not always the big man's fault. They're a lot of times the fault of the guards, if you don't know that. They're the fault of the guards because the guards kind of have to be a little bit knowledgeable. Al is in a situation, big men put themselves in situations where they may be going for an offensive rebound, but they're also just not as mobile. So they're going to end up in a situation where, where Al, what in the hell? Al's going to end up in a situation where he's waiting for the guard to do something. The guard never does anything. Now, Al obviously should be a little bit more aware and get the fuck out of the lane. But a lot of times it's kind of a two-person fault. Guards need to do something. You know what I mean? In that scenario. But it was Al's fault originally. He should have just popped that shot in the first place. But aside from that, he did play well. Good passing, good rebounding. He was solid, had a really great defensive play on Zach Collins. Zach gets an offensive rebound. We double for some reason. He gets a good defensive play on Zach, but it's kind of his fault in the first place. For some reason, we send out, look, Carmelo is still very effective. I feel good about Matisse guarding Carmelo one-on-one at this point in Carmelo's career. Okay, I feel fine with that. And we double Carmelo, forces him into a turnaround shot, which we probably would have shot anyway, which Matisse had guarded really, really well, which allows Zach Collins to get the offensive rebound and then go back up. Now, with that said, Al then comes back into play, eats that shit. I think that's that play, right? Or, yeah, that's the play. That's the same play. I may be getting that confused with the Nurk play where Nurk finishes it on Al, but I'm pretty sure it's that same play. I'm sweating. It's very hot right now. Anyway. And he makes a good play on that ball. He played well. I'm not going to shit on. I don't want to shit on Al. Al played well. He had a couple plays again that pissed me off, but ultimately he shot the ball really well. Much like Toby, he hit a 3 in the first half, which really stopped the lead from ballooning, stopped the bleeding, and then hit a big 3 in the third quarter during our comeback. Had a good dunk. He played well. He played well in that third quarter. Josh, again, welcome to the bubble, Josh. This is the Josh that we kind of thought we were going to get. Maybe not 34-point a game, Josh, but understand, Josh has been improving every single year in his career. He's been improving every year. His first year in the league, he's averaged 6 points a game. His second year in the league, it was up to 10. Third year was up to 12, and then his fourth year, which was last year, he was at 17 points a game and 4 assists a game. When Dragic was going down for the Heat, they didn't have any point guard play. Josh and Justice Winslow were essentially splitting point guard play and initiating the offense for the Heat. Now, that is a superior coach, so it's understandable why he'd be able to do that. But he does have an inclination to at least initiate the offense and get the ball moving. So him ending with 6 assists is not all that surprising. The 34 points, the shooting is what's surprising. He made Dame pay as much as you're going to make Dame pay. Now, Dame has become a better defender. This year, he's played really good defense, I'll be honest with you, but he's just too small. They have him listed at 6'2", and I think that's bullshit. His arms might be 6'2". He has incredible length. His arms are wild long, but I don't think he's that tall. I don't think he's 6'2". I think he's closer to 6 feet. I could be wrong, though. And I, as you know, I operate in a position of wrongness constantly. I essentially live within the gray area of wrong and right, except that I am in the gray area that is shaded very clearly to wrong. And I operate there, so I could be wrong about Dame. I'm not wrong about KD. KD is 7 foot tall. Fuck him. I'm sorry. He doesn't deserve that. Shake. Did Shake play last night? I don't remember. No, I'm joking. Shake played okay. He played fine. But let me go back to Josh. Josh played really, really well. Hit a lot of 3-pointers. We're not going to see him shoot that well, but I do want to say those mid-range shots, and I said this earlier in the season, before he got injured, and what was that, in January, I think it was, or February? Before he had gotten injured, man, that mid-range shot was guaranteed. He was draining the mid-range jumper coming off that screen at like a ridiculous clip. I mean, it just seemed like he dropped it every fucking time he came off the screen. So that doesn't surprise me. The 3-point shooting is not going to continue. He's not going to continue shooting threes like that. But it was very encouraging to see him at least get aggressive. That's what I want to say. I'm more happy that he was aggressive. Once Joe got out the game, having guys who don't fold, that's what kept us in the game. That's what kept. I hate our front office. Understand that. I hate our fucking front office. And Brett needs to go. We're going to talk about that in a second. Brett needs to go probably. But one thing that Brett is kind of good at is galvanizing guys, getting guys to play hard. Not smart necessarily, but play hard. And these guys are listen. And it's not completely Brett. Josh, you know, if you read any story about Josh off the court, on the court, Josh gives a fuck. Toby gives a fuck. Horford gives a fuck. These guys are professionals, man. They're going to try. Even when Al plays like trash, he's trying really hard. It's just not going well. They never not try. You know what I mean? That is the DNA of the team. Joel doesn't always try, but Joel is just so fucking talented. It's whatever. He just kind of wakes up and tries. And when he is, and this was a game he was trying. Understand that. I do want to say that about Joe before he got injured. This was a game he was trying. It was actually turning into a kind of gritty game. Look, in 6 minutes, he finished with 2 points and 4 rebounds. If you extrapolate that to a per 36 situation, that's 12 and 24 and 6 assists. You know what I mean, right? He was trying. Okay, he was trying. It was turning into a gritty game for him because they were clearly not going to allow him to get any space. He got 2 fouls. Now, we're going to get to Brett in a second. He had gotten 2 fouls in Nurk within these 6 minutes. Actually, earlier than these 6 minutes. I think he got the 2 fouls on Nurk within the first 4 minutes pretty much. But, and these guys try. You know what I mean? Joel tried. His emotions are impossible to mask, and sometimes you can see that he's just not in tune. But when he's locked in, and this is a game, he just looks springy. He's active. 4 rebounds in the first couple minutes. He was gonna go for a monster game, and he's had other really good games against the Blazers. Shake. I mean, 11 points, 2 assists. He was whatever. He wasn't bad. He wasn't good. He's getting overshadowed by Alec Burks right now because Alec Burks is shooting at an incredible high level. Shout out to Alec. Alec shitting on me after I said he doesn't have 2 good games in a row, has now put together 2 good games in a row of incredibly good shooting. He is a big part of the comeback. A big part of the comeback at the end of the game. It's not an easy situation for Shake because Shake and Shake is kind of stuck on guarding CJ or Dame. And again, Dame and CJ are better defenders, are almost becoming better defenders by the year. They're just a little undersized. And Shake is kind of in a situation where these guys are veterans. It's going to be hard to score on them if you're a young guy. You got to know what you're going to do. You're not going to beat them off quickness necessarily. They know what to sit on. Whereas Alec is a veteran. I mean, Alec is a bucket getter. As much as I don't like him, he is a bucket getter. It's what he does. It's just that, again, the greenness of his light creates the diminishing returns too soon. We're going to see the diminishing return for Alex. Get prepared for it. Mark my words. All right, mark my words. It may be in a playoff game he's going to shoot us out of or something like that. It's going to happen because it's what Alec Burks does, what he's done his entire career. Glenn played okay, had a couple good defensive plays, a couple good finishes. No beef with Ben, with Glenn's game. Oh, shit, I skipped Matisse. I'm sorry, Matisse. Let's get to Matisse. Matisse didn't do a whole lot on offense. 2 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. But I've been talking about for a while Matisse is a really good passer. I've been saying this for a while. He shows flashes. And this game, he had those 3 assists were a lot of really, really good passes. Not to say like they're Ben Simmons or Magic Johnson, but all look-offs. There was one offensive rebound. He gets it by a little bit below the free throw line. He looks off Zach Collins. Looks Zach Collins off to the left. Throws a no-look to Mike Scott, who's literally under the basket, and Zach Collins literally falls for it. Mike Scott finishes it. There's a play where Matisse ends up with the ball in between the corner of the 3-point line and the basket, kind of shades 2 guys to him for whatever reason, and dumps a pass to Toby, who gets it dunked. What was the other assist? I can't remember the other assist off the top of my head, but he had a couple really, really good passes. Again, big fan of Matisse's passing. It makes me happy. You know what I mean? Matisse is a good passer. He's a better passer than I think people give him credit for. And a couple good defensive plays had which the one defensive play gets overshadowed because Dame and CJ essentially play it perfectly. I mean, Josh fucks it up a little bit. They throw a pass to Nurk. They're double teaming. They're pressuring Dame. I'm sorry. They're pressuring Dame. He throws a pass to Nurk, and Matisse cuts off the pass. Goes on a fast break. It's Dame. It's Matisse, Josh, and I think maybe Glenn or Alec. I don't know. Josh. Matisse passes the ball. Josh, maybe he passed it too early. I don't know. It's a 3-on-2 so it was Glenn. Alec was in the corner, was trailing in the corner at the 3-point line. And that was the pass Josh needed to make. Josh needed to make the pass to the 3-point line. Josh tried to force it into Matisse. It causes the ball to go out of bounds. We end up getting a jump ball with Matisse and I think CJ. We win the jump ball, but it was an opportunity that we fucked up. Josh should have hit Alec in the 3-point corner because CJ and Dame played it perfectly. You know what I mean? They played it perfectly. They didn't commit to any one person. They dropped back. You were going to have to finish over them, possibly get an offensive foul. But besides that, Matisse played well. I was happy with Matisse. Again, defended well. I thought defended well. There's not a whole lot you're going to do against Dame and CJ. I talked to TJ about this before, and he actually told me, I didn't know this. A lot of players have CJ as the best one-on-one player in the NBA. You know what I mean? And we saw in Game 7 last year against the Nuggets, I mean, my man was cash money, just essentially breaking down whoever was defending him, rising up for a mid-range jump shot. Not a whole lot you're going to do against CJ. Unfortunately, CJ hit a big shot on Matisse actually down the stretch. We were up 3. Were we up 3 or up 5 at this point? I can't remember. We were up 3 or up 5 at this point. And CJ hits a tough mid-range 2-pointer to keep this slugfest going. So not a whole lot you're going to do. Matisse did his best. Glenn played okay. Mike Scott played well. I was happy with the Mike Scott minutes we got because essentially Al being in foul trouble, Mike Scott ended up getting some extra minutes, and I thought he played well. He got some braids. He got the cornrows, and he showed up with them. You know what I mean? 9 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. I had a good putback at one point that Mark Zumoff confused him as Al Horford for whatever reason. I don't know why. But that's all right. I love Mark Zumoff. He can confuse with whomever he wants. I don't give a fuck. He was here before Mike Scott. He shall be here after Mike Scott. Furkan, not a whole lot I can say about Furkan. He didn't do a whole lot except get beat up on defense constantly. What are you going to do? You're putting him in against Dame. If he's guarding Dame at any point, it's not good. He had a good steal at one point, though. Dame thought he just missed Furkan. I don't know. He just didn't see him. It's kind of that situation where, like, you see a quarterback throw a pass directly almost at a middle linebacker. He just somehow doesn't see the middle linebacker there. And Furkan had a steal like that, essentially. Norvell, whatever, Kyle Quinn. I'd rather see Kyle Quinn than Norvell. I love Norvell. Don't get me wrong. Norvell had a really good block on on oh my fucking on Carmelo. I forgot Carmelo hit somebody with the crazy spin move. I think he hit Furkan with the spin move. Norvell stepped up and blocked it clean as shit. I mean, even Melo didn't complain. There was nothing he could say. I think actually Melo gave him props too. Well, he might have been shit talking him or giving him props. I don't know. Either or, I can't tell. When you New York dudes, because Melo's a New York dude. New York dudes, they talk shit and give props in the exact with the same voice and same expression. It's impossible to tell whether they actually are giving you credit for something or they're taking credit away from you. You know what I mean? It's the same tongue. You know what I mean? I can't tell. So I don't know whether he was giving him props or not. So let's talk about now. We're done. We're talking about all the players. Let's talk about the Trailblazers real quick. Melo obviously played well, 20.7 rebounds. He's getting a lot of opportunities, and credit to him, he's capitalizing on all of those opportunities. I'm glad to see Melo play well. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to apologize for thinking he was washed, because guess what? When he was in OKC, when he was in Houston, he was washed as fuck. All right? He was mad washed when he was there. His last year in the Knicks, he looked washed. Okay, there's nothing wrong with thinking he was washed. He came into this year, the Blazers signed him. He played well immediately. He's been playing well in the bubble. Good for him. I'm very, very happy for him. He's playing better defense than we've seen him playing a while. He knows what he has to do, essentially. Zach Collins, again, great, just a gritty guy. He's better than his stats suggest here. He does a lot on defense, man. He caused a lot of issues. He allows them when Nurk got injured, he allowed them to bring in the rookie. I don't know that rookie's name. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. I don't remember his name. They brought him in, and which we're going to talk about in a second. They brought him in, and they dodged the bullet because of our terrible coaching, and then they switched Zach on Joe before Joe got injured. Gary Trent Jr., I love Gary. Gary Trent, not a whole lot of numbers this game. They didn't do a whole lot this game. But he is balling. He's completely taken Anthony Simons, who was the story at the beginning of the year. Anthony Simons had a 30-point game, I think, in January. He was playing really well. But Gary Trent Jr. has essentially taken him out of the lineup because Gary Trent Jr.'s defense is fucking crazy. He is a wild, wild defender. My man works his ass off on defense. He is essentially their lockdown defender. Not their lockdown defender, but he is the guy that they say, okay, go stop this person now. At the end of the game, he was guarding Josh, in fact. They decided, okay, Gary Trent, slow down Josh. Because Josh was shooting fireballs at the rim. So Gary Trent is really good. Didn't do a whole lot this game, but, he still had a couple big plays, though. Hit a big three-pointer at one point. Mario Hezonja's been playing well. He has a lot. He is the perfect example of someone who Bill Simmons always talks about this. He calls Russell Westbrook a 90-10 guy, which is you like the 90% of what he brings to the table, even though the 10% of what he takes off the table is very noticeable. Mario is a 60-40 guy. 40% of things he takes off the table, and you're like, what the fuck? He looks off Dame so often. He just looks off all the players. He looks off Dame. There was one play where Carmelo was literally open at the three-point line for a good 5 seconds, just hands up, yelling at Hezonja. Hezonja is just sitting there like dead mind. Just not a thought in his brain. Just nothing going on in his mind. He ends up passing it to CJ. I think CJ finishes the layup, but still it's just like, hey, one of the best scorers of all time, 15th all-time scoring right now because of yesterday's game, is wide open. Maybe you should hit him. I don't know. Wenyen Gabriel, that's his name. I'm sorry, Wenyen Gabriel is his name. That's the guy they brought in. Simons played 2 minutes. But let's get to the point. CJ had 16, 7, and 4. He had an okay game. Again, he hit a couple big shots. Didn't matter because there was one guy, and that's Dame Lillard. Dame finished with 51 and 7. Dame has been passing. I think Dame is averaging a career high in assists this year, 8 assists a game. And in the bubble, he's had a couple 40 and 10, 30 and 10 games. I mentioned this on my last podcast. And is passing the ball really well. That's what's making him even more dangerous. That's why if he gets he didn't get any votes, I don't think. He might have gotten votes, MVP votes. There are 3 finalists, which they announced this weekend, which are Giannis, LeBron, and James, which I want to talk about at the end here about James Harden. But Dame's passing is at an all-time high this year. He's just averaging a lot of assists and a lot of points. He's doing every fucking thing. Dame is one of the best players in the NBA. I love Dame. I stand for him. I would die for that person. I would die for Dame Lillard. If I wasn't a Sixers fan, I would be a Portland fan. And I am a Portland fan low-key. I'm Sixers all day, but I want to see Portland in the playoffs. I want to see Portland go against the Lakers because there's nothing like watching Dame in the playoffs unless it's Dame against the Warriors, because then Steph is the MJ to Dame's Clyde Drexler. And I've been saying that for a while, and it's the truth. Let's remember that as good as Dame is, he did get swept out of the playoffs last year against a short-handed Warriors team with no Iggy, with no KD. You can hate on Iggy if you want, but they need Iggy. With no Iggy and no KD, and Steph averaged 36 a game that game and swept them out of the fucking playoffs. It's kind of wild. But that's Steph. Steph is one of the best players of all time. So is Dame. He's just a little bit below Steph. But Dame's attitude is something crazy. Dame should have had 60, maybe 70. And there's two reasons why he didn't. And one of the reasons is because I don't know about Terry Stotts' coaching. They are becoming known for giving up big leads. They were blowing out the Clippers the other night. And not only did they lose the lead, the Clippers benched Paul George for the last 6 minutes. They then lost the lead in those 6 minutes, and then Dame misses those last 2 free throws, which is crazy, but I'm not going to shit on them. They lost that game before the free throws. They had gotten shell-shocked, essentially, and then Dame missing the free throws just capitalized the thing that had already happened. They were going to lose that game, and it was mad weird. Now, the Clippers are deep, but still no excuse for that. And I like Terry Stotts as a coach. I do. But maybe I don't. Maybe I shouldn't. Somebody smarter needs to really take a look at Terry Stotts' coaching, because the Trailblazers, the reason why they allowed us back in this game is because they, for some inexplicable reason, like Dame and CJ, this is somewhat Dame and CJ's fault. They started just going away from what's working. And it gets confusing. They start doing cute shit. I don't know. Like, CJ had a couple plays where it just seemed like he wanted to make things more difficult for himself. And I just didn't understand what he was doing. And now let's get to our stupid fucking coaching of the night. Our incredibly, incredibly short-sighted and dumb fucking defensive game plan against Dame. What are we thinking? You're going to do drop coverage in a pick and roll against Dame and hope that Nurk is one of the best screen setters in the NBA. Okay, one of the best screen setters in the NBA. There was a whole article about this, I think maybe last year or 2 years ago, when they traded for Nurk in the first place, about how much space he creates on a screen. And you can see it. They have a couple good screen setters. And to question what Terry's thinking, we'll get to this in a second. We are big men. This is the game plan. Our big men are dropping towards the rim because we're not worried about Nurk shooting. Even though Nurk has shot in the bubble, he's not shooting during. He has it in the scrimmage games. He was draining threes. Since the end of the scrimmage games, he hasn't been shooting as well. He can shoot though, but we're dropping in coverages if he can't shoot, and as if Dame is now not wide open at the 3-point line. As soon as Dame comes. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy to think I've never seen Dame shoot so many three-pointers at the 3-point line. I'm going to be honest with you. Not this year, at least. Not in the last 2 years. Teams have been driving him off the 3-point line, and he's been shooting a lot of 4 feet, 5 feet back from the 3-point line. He's been draining a lot of those long shots because teams are not allowing him any space to get to that 3-point line. So he's saying, cool. You're going to be at the 3-point line. I'm going to shoot from back here, just like the Steph thing. Except us. We didn't do that. We dropped coverage. And we're dropping our big men all the way back to the rim as if a Nurk 2-pointer is as worrisome. Listen, there are ways to game plan for that. And you can force Nurk to pass the ball out to a lesser 3-point shooter. They're playing a lot of Zach Collins and Nurk. So Zach is not shooting the ball super confidently. You can drop Toby's man into Nurk if he gets to the rim and allow Al to recover to somebody else. You cannot fucking allow Dame Lillard just a wide open 3-point shot. So what happens here? Well, we do that for the first 3 quarters. Dame shorts a couple of those 3-pointers. Understand, they just played a back-to-back. He shorts a few of those 3-pointers before he gets it going. He still has 30. It's kind of a quiet 30. He scores 20 points in the last 5 minutes of the game. All right? He has a quiet 30 going into that. You know what I mean? Because Josh is doing everything he can. He's just they were blowing us out, and then as they were coming back, they were essentially asleep at the wheel. Because against Terry Stotts, I don't think he's a good coach, maybe. and they're asleep at the wheel. And then Dame says, "Oh, I guess I should now win this game." He scores 20 in the last minute. And what happens? Well, comes off the one screen. Josh is trailing him on every single screen because you have to. You have to fight above that screen. You cannot allow him. You can't go under the screen. He's going to kill you all day from there. But if you're going to, I would, man, I don't even know. I would almost rather go under the screen than drop coverage, because that doesn't make any fucking sense. And we do that in two back-to-back three-pointers. Dame hits the three-pointer that results in a 4-point play because Josh is trailing him, and Josh can complain all he wants. But Dame is waiting for you to get there, and as soon as it looks like you touch him, that's going to be a foul call. The offensive player has dominion over that space, so it is what it is. Dame hits that three-pointer and one. The very nice play comes off a screen again, drop coverage for whatever stupid reason, another three-pointer. What is the point of that? What's the point of that? And then for some inexplicable, because there was a play where they, for some inexplicable reason, we do drop coverage, and Dame feeds it to Nurk anyway. Nurk has a nice little spin move, but he blows the layup on Al. And it's like we dodge bullets. We're essentially dodging bullets that entire time, because Dame could have done that the entire fucking game. CJ has a similar three-pointer. Again, screen and roll, drop coverage, we shoot. He shoots a three that he makes in the fourth quarter. They could have done that the entire fucking game. They could have thrown that shit down our throats. Dame should have had 60. He missed a couple open three-pointers. He missed a few open three-pointers. Understand. He missed a few open three-pointers, and for whatever reason, didn't take advantage of that a lot during the game as much as they should have. He should have had 60, 70 points. Because our defense didn't make any fucking sense. Our defense doesn't make any fucking sense. Our coaching doesn't make any fucking sense. Joe gets Nurk fouled out. Let's go to this. Joe gets Nurk 2 fouls in the first 3 fucking minutes of the game. He's out of the game. They bring in Wenyen Gabriel. Wenyen Gabriel is 6'9" and is 156 pounds and 7 ounces. And Joel is 450 pounds of muscle. And it's just maddening. This happens every game, and I say it every game, and it continues to happen. We somehow cannot get the ball to our best player. 6'9" Wenyen Gabriel comes out, and what do? We post up Toby the very next play. And Toby misses the shot he takes. Whatever shot he takes, he misses. He posts somebody up, misses. The next play, instead of Brett saying, whoa, hey, mismatch all day. They have a small forward on the best center in the NBA. Everyone clear the fuck out of the way. Get Joe the ball. Nope. Get Toby the ball in the post. And then Joe gets hurt. It's the most disgusting thing. Brett has been, and I've been saying this in other games, Brett is skirting by on shot making from our players. You know what I mean? Josh going ballistic. If Josh doesn't go ballistic, we lose this game by 15-20. And we're out of it way earlier. Josh starts pitching fireballs. All right. I don't want to do Ryu again. I've said that one before. He's like, I don't know. I can't think of a good one. I'm not going to go Dragon Ball Z here. I'll think of a good one. Anyway, it's just wild. All right. He's shooting into an ocean here. If it's not for that, that had nothing to do with coaching. Because Josh shot some crazy three-pointers. He shot some deep ones. He's just feeling it. You know what I mean? That has nothing to do with coaching. Now, that happens often. But what the problem is, if we're not doing shot making like that, if we're not having shot making like that, we cannot rest on the laurels of our game plan, because our game plan fails us constantly. Our game plan is shit. And our defensive game plan is confusing too. I miss Lloyd Pierce. Lloyd Pierce's defense was different than this defense. You know what I mean? It is different than this. Man, I don't know. Our coaching is abysmal. We're going to lose to the Suns. Shout out to Monty Williams. I thought Monty was a bad coach. I never liked Monty as a coach. He disappointed me. I found it disappointing seeing him on the Pelicans. Shout out to my homie Dom, though. He suggested that AD is a little bit overrated. I don't think AD is overrated, but I can see why someone would say that based on AD's career with the Pelicans. I can 100% see why someone would say that based on his career with the Pelicans. It's hard to say you're one of the 5 best players if you're never in the playoffs. He was in the playoffs one time. And it's hard. He puts up all the numbers. I think really what it is, and I talked to him about this, I think really what it is with AD is that he is as talented as any NBA player that we've ever seen, probably. You know what I mean? He just the talent is pouring out of this dude. Can initiate the offense, can handle the ball, can post up, can shoot, is strong, can grab rebounds, can block shots, is a manic defender. But the leadership is not there. He's not the guy. He needs another guy to be the leader. You know what I mean? He needs a guy to be the leader for him. You know what I mean? He needs a guy to speak for him, which is why the AD LeBron thing works, other than LeBron being one of the best players of all time. But like Dame and AD would be a deadly combination. You know what I mean? And I think that's what it is that AD needs. He needs someone to speak for him, kind of like Paul George. Paul George, same way. Paul George is an offensive, just a weapon, could do everything on offense. I mean, you're talking about someone who can do any fucking thing he wants on offense. But leadership, maybe not. He needs someone to speak for him. And the Clippers don't necessarily have anyone to speak. But Kawhi galvanizes people just by the confidence that he carries, like the way he moves. I think he just galvanizes teammates. It's just the confidence in knowing you have the most vicious killer on your side. You know what I mean? If you went into a gang fight, right? It's like Troy. It's like the Trojan War, right? Have you seen Troy? If you show up with Achilles on your side, you're feeling pretty good about your chances, even though Achilles doesn't even want to be there. But you're like, well, but we have him though. He's gonna fight just because he's here. And he's going to kill everyone. So that's essentially what Kawhi is. But anyway, point being, so Monty, so I wasn't sure about him as a coach. Well, what he's doing with the Suns right now is pretty good. Got to give him credit. You know, they run some really nice offensive sets, man, to get people open. They just do a good job. They're doing this without Kelly Oubre. When Oubre comes back, they're going to be that much better. So, and he might be back for our game, honestly, against us. I don't know. I wish we had Monty. I don't know. I wish we had anybody. Brett just always seems to be the worst coach on the court. Pretty much all that is. Seems to be the worst coach on the court. Again, I think we play let me take a look at this. I think we play the Suns next. Yeah, Suns. Oh, yeah, and then the Raptors. God help us. God help us. We're going to get blown out of that game. Unless the Raptors rest everyone because they're not playing anything. I don't think they are, because the way the Raptors are, the way they're built, they know. They want to go in with momentum. So they're going to come in and they're going to beat us by 152 points. The Suns are undefeated. We'll see about that. That's tomorrow at 4:30. That should be fun to watch, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. It'll be fun because it'll be fun to watch other teams be better coached than us. Yeah, that's it. Before we go, I want to do a quick segment here, and maybe I'll release this as a separate video. It'll be part of the podcast, but I'll put it out separately. I don't know. Well, I'll whatever. I'm just gonna clip it into its own thing. I want to talk about James Harden real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting confused here. I want to talk about James Harden real quick. Let me pull up his stats. I want to make a little segment maybe here, and I always do this. I always claim I'm going to do a segment, and I always forget to do it. Like for a long time, I was doing a segment called, well, not for a long time. I only did it twice. It was a segment called Song of the Day. What's the song of the day? Let me think of the song today. You know what song is jumping to my mind right now? I'm going to tell you what song is jumping to my mind. Is Notorious Thugs, Biggie Smalls, and go ahead and listen to Biggie and Bone Thugs and Harmony, Notorious Thugs. Okay? Classic. Actually, might be my favorite Big verse ever. It's between that and it's between that and probably the first verse in Who Shot Ya. Man, but then, there's also So Incredible, Biggie Smalls. That's also one of my favorite verses. I don't know. That might be my favorite verse. Notorious Thugs, Song of the Day. Anyway, let's talk about James Harden. We have to evolve how we talk about James Harden, because I'm noticing people are I don't know if they've gotten so used to James Harden that they almost talk about him in like a tongue-in-cheek way. I was listening to a podcast. I was checking out the Simmons podcast earlier today with Ryan Russillo. I only heard a part of it, and they were talking about Luka, and they were saying, they were like, oh, Luka is not Larry Bird, blah, 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 which, we've talked about on this podcast. He has Larry Bird-like qualities, but that's not the point. And Bill Simmons went into a rant about how Luka doesn't get cheap assists, but he, he does get the assists, like, they collapse the defense, guy in the corner. And he made it sound in a way that, and he said he gets like the James Harden type of assist, where a guy collapses, he hits the guy in the corner. And he said it in a way that was almost like that's like not good or something. Understand LeBron James has made his entire career on that assist. Like his entire passing career is based on the defense collapsing and him hitting an open guy. James Harden is one of the best passers. Not only one of the best passers in the NBA, he's one of the best passers we've ever fucking seen. Everyone has been mad impressed, and I've seen people try to shit on this a little bit. People have been mad impressed with the Luka between the legs pass that he did against the Clippers the other night. Was it against the Clippers? Was that against the Clippers? Shit, I can't remember. Anyway, I think it was against the Clippers. I think it was against the Clippers. Against the Clippers the other night. And it was a great pass. Don't get me wrong. It's a fantastic fucking pass. And then people were like, hey, but James Harden has a whole highlight reel of these passes. And people were like, yeah, but it's different. And it's like, no, it's not different. James has been doing this for years. Luka did this. It's like the first time we've seen him do this pass. Now, Luka's an incredible passer in his own right. And we shouldn't sully Luka with comparisons anymore. Luka is in his own stratosphere. You can say he's the next LeBron. LeBron wasn't this good in year 2. I'm sorry to say. LeBron is the second greatest player of all time. He was not this good in year 2, bro. The things that Luka is doing are in a whole different stratosphere. No player in their second year came out and just started doing 38 and 8 every fucking night. And my man Luka is putting up in 2 back-to-back games, career high in rebounds, career high in assists in 2 back-to-back games. Fucking insane the things he's doing. And he's an incredible passer. Let's not take credit away from James Harden just because we want to give credit to Luka. We need to evolve how we talk about James. James is becoming normalized, his greatness. He's averaging 34. Look at these numbers. 34, 6, and 5. His numbers are actually down this year because of Russ, who takes a lot of stuff from the offense. And yet, it's still amazing to look at. I mean, we've gotten so used to how great James Harden is. And I understand people don't like his style of play, a lot of heavy isolation. That's the offense, though. That's the offense that Mike D'Antoni runs. And if you didn't mind Steve Nash, now it was different because Steve Nash wasn't the ISO player that James Harden was. Steve Nash was a very good offensive player, could score, should have shot more. And in fact, he had an interview on Bill Simmons' podcast, I think earlier this year. Maybe earlier this year at the end of last year, I can't remember, where I think Bill asked him if he had any regrets or something like that. And Steve Nash's regret was not shooting more, was not being more aggressive on offense, which is right because he was a very efficient player, a super efficient 50, 40, 90 guy, super efficient, but he wouldn't shoot as much. He always wanted to get people involved, which is understandable. Well, James is going to shoot a lot. He's going to shoot a lot. He's going to score a lot. I mean, look at this box score right here. As we're getting used to James, some of these shooting percentages are whatever, but look at this: 11 for 19, 5% from 3, 39 points, 8 rebounds, 12 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block. And we're just so fucking used to him that we're now like we gloss over these lines. Our eyes just gloss, and we're like, no, this is a James Harden game. That is fucking wild. That stat line is fucking wild, and he does that 12 times a year, 12, 15 times a year. 50-point game, 10 assists, 8 rebounds. Those stats are fucking crazy. Evolve how we talk about James Harden. We've somehow gone all the way the other way, where our dislike for the way he plays the game is influencing so much about how we talk about him. It's insane. This is one of the most talented offensive players in the NBA. He is not only a walking bucket, but he's a walking assist getter. All right? He gets assists everywhere because there's no hope to stop him. You can't stop him. So you're sending 3 people at him, and he's going to find every assist. And guess what? The between the leg assist, there's an entire you can find it on YouTube. It's just this year. It's just 2.5 minutes or something of him going between the leg assists from this fucking year. James is one of the best offensive players we've ever seen in our lives. KD might be the best offense. There was a discussion about this between Draymond and Chuck, which was disappointing because no one said Kareem's name. Because, again, because Kareem's claim to fame is the skyhook, which was a guaranteed bucket. People act as if it wasn't as impressive. It's like, yeah, but that's the only thing he could do. One, it wasn't the only thing he could do. He could do other things. He was a good post player. But 2, even if it was the only thing he could do, you couldn't stop it. So what? So the fuck what? You couldn't stop it, and he did the skyhook to 40,000 points. So the fuck what? What are you supposed to do about that? I don't care. KD is 7.5 feet tall. No, he's 7'7". He's like 8 feet tall and can shoot and moves like a guard. That's why he doesn't really want to be 7 foot. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I had to guess, just looking at how KD operates as a person, man, I don't know him personally. I just mean like interviews and what I've seen from him in social media. He's a little bit fragile. His ego is a little bit fragile from what I've seen from him, which is fine. Look, man, most people, I understand. I'm not trying to cast a negative aspersion on him, but his ego is a little bit fragile, and I think he doesn't want to be a 7 foot tall because he thinks he's going to take credit away from him as a player. No, man. We see that you're one of the best players we've ever seen. No one's confused about it. No one's confused about that. You know what I mean? You're a 7 foot player who moves like a guard. Okay, that to me is actually more impressive. If you told me he's 7'1", 7'2", but he moves like a guard, because we've never seen a 7'2" player move like a guard. That to me is more impressive. Just own it. And so Draymond said that KD is the best offensive player, and I think Chuck said James Harden is the best offensive player they've ever seen. I'm not mad at any argument. The difference is, and this again goes to the point about Kevin Durant not wanting to be 7 foot. James Harden is 6'5". You know what I mean? He is 6'5". He's not the fastest player or the quickest player on the court, and yet he will find ways to score on anybody, everybody. It doesn't matter who you put on him. There is not a defender in the NBA that can slow him down. You need entire teams to stop James Harden. Stop the James Harden hate, please. All right? Put respect on that man's name. You can say you don't like his play. That's fine. But respect his game. This is one of the 5 best players in the NBA. I would trade everything for James Harden except for Joel Embiid. I would trade all of it for James Harden. He is incredible. Evolve how we talk about James Harden. I'm going to have one of these. I'm going to try to do one of these every afternoon where I pick up something that I don't like what I'm seeing, and I'm going to talk about it. I don't like what I'm saying about how we talk about James Harden. It's too ho-hum. You know what I mean? It's too ho-hum with how we talk about him. This dude is all he's done is been to the playoffs every single year. I'm pretty sure of his entire career, he's been in the playoffs every single year, except maybe his rookie year on the Thunder. I think it's year 2 when they go to the finals. Now they were in the playoffs that year. He's been to playoffs every single year. Then he ended up in the Rockets alone, playoffs every single year again. You know what I mean? With some shit teams, with trash teams that got overhyped because he got Dwight Howard when Dwight Howard was clearly done. Dwight was clearly done, and they got him. They thought he was going to be the next thing because Dwight ends up on the Lakers, has a couple good moments. He has a couple good moments on the Rockets, but this is before we had accepted completely that Dwight Howard was a cancer in the locker room and was maybe a little bit washed, and people expected James to be whatever. James went up against Steph, who's one of the 18 best players of all time probably, is an entire offense. Again, he is the Shaq of the perimeter, just bends the court in a different completely. He's like Doctor Strange. You know why he's Doctor Strange? Because people don't know how you need to have watched the comic book. You need to have read comic books to understand exactly how powerful Doctor Strange is. He is one of the most powerful. He is the reason why they beat Thanos in the Infinity Saga. He's the reason, and it took a whole lot, but he got us there, right? He is Doctor Strange. He can warp an entire basketball court to hit the image that he wants it to be. And James went up against that team. He's just been going up against iconic teams. They went up against the iconic Heat. He's faced the iconic Spurs. He's faced the iconic Warriors, and people are shitting on him for that, and I understand it. He's had some bad moments in the playoffs. He's had some great moments in the playoffs, too. Let's not forget that. He's had some great moments in the playoffs. He will always be known for the bad ones, and I understand that. You can do that if you want. We hold players accountable. If you're the superstar player, you should be better when the moment gets bigger, except that when there's no one else on the court, and we're going to give that same energy to LeBron, we got to give that same energy to James Harden, because when there's nobody else on the court to perform, it's kind of hard to make things happen. You're going to go 0 for 100 when there's nobody else, and everyone is going to collapse on James Harden at all times. You're going to have 2 players on him all the time. You're going to have everyone shading on James Harden. It's going to be hard to make shots, man. It's going to be fucking hard. You're going 5-on-1 constantly, and there's nobody else. So evolve how we talk about James Harden, please. This is one of the best players we've ever fucking seen. I don't know where he finishes all time, but I know it won't be high enough probably. You know what I mean? Wherever people put him, it won't be high enough because they hate how he plays. And I don't give a fuck about if you hate how he plays. You know what? Would I want to be his teammate? Probably not. Maybe not, because it's just going to be kind of boring, right? You're just watching him do a lot of things. Is that completely his fault or is that his coach's fault? I don't know either. You know what I mean? Of all how we talk about him, this is one of the best players we've ever seen. It's incredible. It's incredible. All right? It's fucking incredible to watch him. These stat lines, we've normalized them. We should be amazed every time we see a stat line like this because it's fucking wild. It doesn't make sense. There are no players who put stat lines up like this, except for, guess what? LeBron, Luka now. Yeah, that's the list, pretty much. That is pretty much the list. KD doesn't put stat lines like that. Oh, Russ put stat lines like this. Not anymore, but when he was on the Warriors, he put stat lines like this. And guess what? When he was on the Thunder, and guess what? He didn't have as much success as James Harden had. So, yeah, that's it. One thing I did want to talk about before we go. You may have seen a rumor over the weekend about the Cavaliers having a quote-unquote package in place, what they believe is a good package for Ben Simmons. What do I start with here? Okay. One, there is no good package for Ben Simmons, and I'm going to explain why. Because of the poor fit of Ben and Joe. Even though, again, they've experienced success together. Understand that. It's an imperfect fit, but they've been successful. They've made it far. They're, again, a bounce away from overtime against the eventual champions. And who knows what happens in overtime. We could have maybe pulled that game out. But it went to Game 7. It took every fucking thing. It took a miracle. It took a Kawhi Leonard evolving into MJ type of game for them to beat us. Then they didn't really wash them. They lost the first 2 games and then washed them the last 4 against the MVP and the best and the coach of the year and the best team in the NBA. And then they win a championship. So we were right there. We've experienced success, and we've never had a team that makes any goddamn sense. Jimmy didn't fit next to Ben and Joel. Al sure as fuck don't fit next to Ben and Joel. Josh is an imperfect fit. Toby can find places to fit, but we need shooters. We needed JJ. I was tired of JJ getting beat on defense, but goddamn it, we needed JJ on this team. We needed JJ on this team. Anyway, it's an imperfect fit. Because of that, the value for Ben, we'll never get the value for him. We will never get his true value because it's too imperfect, and teams see that it's imperfect, so they're going to be undercutting. So when you say the Cavaliers have a really good offer for Ben, it's a good offer, what they believe is a good offer, because they believe, one, the fit doesn't work, and B, part 2 of this is that they would only believe that if there were some sort of rumblings that we were going to trade Ben, or that we were interested in moving him. We are probably going to quit on this. And listen, if we're going to trade Ben, I'm not completely against it. I get it. I get why people may want to trade Ben. I get it. I don't think we should, but I get why you might want to. The problem is there is no hope that Elton Brand and this dumbass front office is going to trade Ben for anything acceptable. You're going to tell me you're going to give me Colin fucking Sexton? Knowing Elton Brand, he wants Kevin Love too. He wants another power forward because God knows he can't have enough fucking power forwards that don't fit together. You're telling me you're going to give me Colin Sexton, Kevin Love, or let's say it's Tristan. The only value that you could sell me on with that is that we jettisoned Al Horford. And Tristan's coming here to be our backup center. That's not bad. I'm cool with that. And Colin Sexton, yeah, maybe he fits better next to Joel, but that's not enough. That's not Ben. Are you kidding me? That's not Ben. Ben didn't finish as a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, and that's fucking bullshit. Let me tell you. So maybe it's because of injury, whatever. There is no value for Ben. There is not a proper value for Ben. The only way you get good value for Ben is trading Ben for a guy who is either older, Mike Conley, Chris Paul, or trading Ben for a guy who has not blossomed yet, who has the bones to be really, really good. I don't think the Thunder would trade SGA, but SGA is the type of player I'm thinking, right? A guy who's like, or De'Aaron Fox, something like that. Guy who has the bones to be really, really, really good. The potential, needs a little bit of coaching to get there. And then when he gets there, he's an all-star. Other than that, I don't know what there is no good value for trading Ben. It should scare you that the the Cavaliers saying something like that is a little bit scary to me, because that makes me feel like there's something out there. Like rumors like that, I know people think that that's that. Man, people are so weird when they look at with how they are with this team. They think that front offices are trying to sow doubt somewhere or something. They're not. Because if they were trying to sow doubt, they would have been doing that constantly. These are the type of reports that were coming out 2 years ago about KD leaving the Warriors. You know what I mean? 2.5, 3 years ago, these were the type of reports that were coming out. KD might not be happy. Then all of a sudden, you had all the Warriors fans like, oh, it's just other guys trying to sow doubt into a locker room and blah, 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 blah. And then KD left. And then you saw the KD-Draymond argument, and then KD leaves, and you find out that KD wasn't happy because it wasn't his team. Blah, 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 all this bullshit, right? This is real. There was a Kyrie-LeBron friction a year before Kyrie forced his way out of there. This is real. When shit like this pops up, where there is smoke, there is fire. It's the best way to put it. Where there is smoke, there is fire. We don't know the nature of the fire completely, but there's something there. We should pay attention to it, and we should be scared that the Cavaliers think they have anything to offer us that's worth any fucking thing, because they have nothing on that team. All right, I like Colin Sexton. He's cool. He breaks us every time he sees us, but then again, we've given up 50 twice in the bubble, so go figure. Okay, that's it. That's all I got. Everyone, wash your hands. You know the drill. Wash your hands, okay? Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Wash your hands. Wear a mask. Let's continue social distancing. Yeah, wash your hands. Please, wear a mask. I don't know. I would really love to get out of this pandemic by 2022, if it's possible. I don't know if we will make it. I don't know if there will be a 2022 anymore, honestly. I'll still be here yelling about Brett Brown and his bad coaching, even in Armageddon. So don't you worry. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Everyone take care.
Yo. Yo. Justice for the blind. Just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind. You've been coming.